Hello and welcome to another episode of the CoolKarnis. This is your host and host, Sanjeev Kulkarni. Firstly, wishing you all a very happy and prosperous new year. I'm super excited because this is our first episode of the year. This is our first episode in double digits, but it is our second episode with our Harfan Mola, Ashwin Kumar Bindu. Continuing from where we left it last time, we will have discussions about Ashwin's journey, starting right from cricket, continuing with his philanthropic activities, social activities, and also discussing how he got involved in the political side of it. But as promised last time, we will begin this interview with a glimpse into the wonderful Bindu home, which is, needless to say, a great extent designed by Ashwin himself. So, without further ado, let us dive straight into the next episode of the CoolKarnis.
Hello and welcome everyone to the next episode of the CoolKarnis, continuing with our CoolKarni, Ashwin Bindu. Welcome again, Ashwin.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev.
How did you like the first session that we had?
Yeah, I did not realize the time that it just flew by, and it was really fascinating that, I spoke so much about my past, and I'm looking forward to the next episode, and hopefully I'll give something back to the community soon.
Wonderful, and I'm very at that one part we are absolutely confident about that you will give back to the community. But I want to start this journey with a part where we kind of partly touched upon it. Mm-hmm. We call you Dhoni.
Yes,
right. You want to touch something a little bit upon that as to why we all call you Dhoni?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the first thing, the name actually is people started calling Dhoni for me came from my niece. Shubhangi's brother's daughter. So Ojo, and she once was looking at a cricket match, and Dhoni appeared on the TV, and she started calling Ashwin Mama is on the TV. So that's when people. And so at that time, I had a lot of hair as well. I don't want to go back as to how I lost it now, but I did have a lot of hair, and whenever I used to have, even at my work, a couple of my friends and colleagues, I would wear a hat and on a casual Friday and go there. On an angle, people think that I look like Dhoni. So,
yeah. See, if it makes you feel any better, the real Dhoni has also lost all his hair right now. So, dosto, Dhoni ji will also probably agree. What you see right now is not his real hair. He has got some nice treatments done, but बाल तो उनके भी उड़ गए हैं भाई.
So yeah,
okay. That's the reality of life.
अभी क्या बोले?
But there is another reason why we can call you Dhoni, because it's also, there are two reasons rather. Yep. First is, of course, your love for cricket.
Certainly.
Right? And second is in terms of how you master everything. धोनी जी के जैसे ही आप बैठ के मास्टर स्ट्रेटेजिस्ट हो, सब कुछ संभालते हो, सब कुछ करा के देते हो, जिता के देते हो हम लोग, राइट? बट ये वाला तो छोड़ दीजिए. We'll go to the point of cricket.
Sure.
You are absolutely fond of cricket. Tell us about that.
I'm a cricket fanatic from childhood, right? So, any time I get, especially during summer holidays, all we had back then was to play cricket. That was the only game that I knew back then, apart from, Gilli Danda or Goti, what we call as marbles, right? Yeah. So, but, my dad did not have much trouble in finding where I would be if I am not home. Is to walk into a ground and there he would find me, or the moment I know that he's coming, I would go back from the backside of there and then go home and then be home and open my book and start reading. So that is a different story. But the seriousness came when I was in my Bachelor of Science in one of my days, where in Nizam College, I was selected for the college. I played, for the college, but it was inter-college competition. And then when I went to engineering also, there we played inter-college competition at the engineering level. But the seriousness, even more seriousness came when I came to Australia. And then during one of my master's days, there was a group of people where they used to play on Mondays, because Mondays at that time the grounds were very empty. Here, the facilities over here is at par with some of the stadiums back home in India.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah? Even for anyone to walk into any ground, they are at par with any of the grounds that we would normally find in a stadium. As a childhood, I have seen in a couple of stadiums back in Hyderabad or in Bangalore.
Absolutely.
So that actually, was one of the only time pass that I used to be as a student here, and I got involved into cricket. And then I continued that even after marriage. So I used to play on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending upon the season. We used to.
So you were allowed to play.
I was allowed to play. If you want to call that and makes any better for me and for the viewers, yes, I was. Notwithstanding what Shubhangi would say, anything.
So you have to thank Shubhangi for
yes, without a doubt, I would thank her because of the support that she has extended. Everything that I do around me, not just cricket for that matter. Obviously, without her support, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today in terms of either my extracurricular activities, not Telstra, but other extracurricular activities, whether it is the mortgage or the matha or the real estate or including the restaurant business, right?
Absolutely.
So, there needs to be, when I come home, there is something on the table, it doesn't appear magically, right? So, someone needs to do that. And I think, she has taken care of my boys and all the three boys, she says, her home is where the three boys are.
Yes.
So she has.
And that's the first thing you see when you enter the house.
Yeah. So so the cricket, I continued the journey, and I also started. I can probably say that I also started a cricket club back in Melton called as Melton Knight Riders, and I was the president of that club. So unfortunately, I did not continue after I moved here because the travel and everything. But that fascination that I had, and I was also coach of Melton Centrals back in Melton, and I did that coaching for more than 2 years there. And then when I moved to Glen Waverley, I'm currently a coach of Mount Waverley Cricket Club, and I've been doing that for past more than 4 years now.
Fantastic. So see, amongst the things that he's juggling, we add another one now, being a cricket coach. But you said Melton Knight Riders.
Yes.
Okay. We call you Dhoni.
Yes.
We thought it would be like Melton Super Kings.
Well,
so why Melton Knight Riders? Is there a Gambhir connection or a Shah Rukh Khan connection?
Well, I think there was
a Juhi Chawla connection.
No, not on that front. But there was a cricket fanatic like me, or more fanatic like me. And that person suggested that he wants something fascinating, or Knight Riders is something that people knew at that time, and that's when just this IPL evolved. But not everyone were Chennai Super Kings, or Super Kings was not so very well, it was not very well known. Knight Riders, the advertisement that they were doing, and there was also another club locally there called Knight Riders. So we just happened to go with Knight Riders. No reasoning behind as to why we chose one upon the other.
So the loyalty to Dhoni is still there.
Still there, yes.
Okay. So cricket obviously has been a passion, and now the boys are also playing cricket,
yes.
I believe, right?
Yeah. So I'm really happy that both my boys have picked up really well, and they are progressing really well. Both of them got selected into the rep cricket at their individual tiers.
Wonderful.
So they have been playing cricket for a while now, and today happens to be Pratham. My older one had a half century. So
fantastic.
Yeah, so he continued to make around 66 runs in as many balls.
So is it his first half century?
No, this is his third half century.
Fantastic.
So
well done, Pratham.
Yeah, so he's been really progressing well, and we've been getting both under me as well as on one-on-one with a professional cricketer.
Okay.
So there is a Sri Lankan professional cricketer called Chanaka Valagadara. Those who don't know, he is an ex-Sri Lankan cricketer, and he played for along with the likes of Sachin, Sehwag, Saurav.
That's awesome exposure for the kids.
So this is what we get in this part of the world, where everyone is down to earth. So there is no status show off and stuff like that. So, and Chanaka is very approachable guy, and I deal with him on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah,
that's fantastic, both for the kids, in terms of the exposure that they're getting. It's literally world class.
Certainly, because the technology and the facilities that they get trained under here are, I always dreamt of just doing that. But at least I'm glad that my boys are able to, get that over here, and under the guidance of a very, very renowned, cricket player. So, and their exposure, we can't even match that, right? Whatever I coach as a voluntary, we can only do it certain time of the week, right? Or a few hours in a week. But he dedicatedly doing one-on-one as a group, and also a group sessions on a weekly basis to my kids. So we breathe and live cricket for 6 days a week at home. And Shubhangi says that, you guys only talk about that. And, at times we have a good day and a bad days. I come, having my own bad days from the game. But as a coach, I need to be, uniformity amongst every kid that I coach under. But once I'm home, I try to inculcate those learnings into the boys. And they're getting better week in, week out, yeah.
So, just to be clear, you are still continuing your journey as well? You get coached?
I took a break, after I wanted my kids to, get into a certain level. So, next year I'm preparing myself next year, where I want to play seniors. That's when Pratham, there is every father's dream is to play with their son, right? So I think that's going to come true hopefully next year.
So you will both be in the same team?
In the same team, yeah. So it's called, he will come and play for seniors. That's what I'm preparing him also from now on. So he's 13, turning 14 next year. But, he will be eligible. He can play, senior starts from 17 onwards. So seniors is not the age of 17, but they will be really age 40 plus, if that makes any, better. So there will be, but there is a encouragement within various clubs where father and son duo can come and play, so that their bonding also increases even further.
Correct. I know a few in the western suburbs, probably you also know them, the Sholapurkar.
Correct.
So they, father and son, are playing together.
Correct.
So I'm sure it's a different kind of a thrill and a joy.
It is certainly, everyone can pull their legs, the son can pull a leg on a dad, saying that you don't know anything. Time will say. Hopefully next year, he will see what is it in for me.
No, but that is always the case, isn't it? The son is the child is the father of the man. So.
That's it.
But what is it that, what are your specialities, the three of you? I know the kids are still young, they can, some formative years, they can probably shift their areas of
actually, I already shifted from a fast bowler to a spinner, but his main specialty is a batter. And he is a opener or a one-downer, depend, but mainly he opens for the club. And he holds the fort, so that he gets the ball old, so that the middle order batsmen who come and just make huge runs.
And so getting 66 is fantastic.
For that age and facing some dreadful 15 years age, he's hardly 30. He's 13, not turning into 14 in February next year. But the 15 plus years, they are, they bowl at least at 100 kilometers per hour.
Absolutely.
Facing them is, some guts, at that age. And my younger one is a fast bowler. He's not a great batter, but he's turning into a batsman. Hopefully he'll get there. Me particularly, I was an all-rounder, but mainly, I get into now I turn into a medium pacer.
Okay. But wicket keeping?
Wicket keeping, I used to do it, but because everyone takes turn. I used to be a wicket keeper in my club here when I started, because I had an injury on my leg, so hence I was turned into a wicket keeping. I did okay, I wouldn't say not even coming close to Dhoni. But
Dhoni ke liye chhod diya.
Yes, he is doing his job.
He's doing well, so chalo usko. Wonderful. So there is a lot of cricket. But one thing struck me. You said 6 days of a week. कौन सा दिन छोड़ दिया और क्यों छोड़ दिया?
So Monday छोड़ दिया मैंने. Monday.
So you don't talk cricket that day.
No, we talk cricket, but we don't go and play cricket on Monday, because Monday is the day where we thought थोड़ा शांति रखते हैं बच्चों को थोड़ा क्योंकि Sunday तक they have back to back, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday are heavy cricket. So Monday I want to give them some relaxation times to rejuvenate themselves. Then again it starts from Tuesday onwards, rigorous one.
Fantastic.
Tuesday, I have my trainings, so I take the boys for the club training, where we dwell about couple of hours there, rigorous one, and then Wednesday Pratham has his one-on-one, and then Thursday Prayers has his one-on-ones, and then on one group session also happen on a Tuesday as well. After mine, they go to Chanaka. And then Friday again match starts, from Friday.
God, looking at the schedule the boys have already, but they have to learn from the very best, of course, who is able to juggle so many things.
We'll see. Hopefully, they'll get something out of it. Yeah.
But growing up in India for us, considering that cricket was the only sport, I understand. But here, luckily in Australia, they're exposed to so many different kinds of sports.
Certainly.
Are they trying or dabbling with something else?
So, we did, soccer when they were very young, but, for some reason, both took off into cricket without any much, push. So, at the moment, that is the one that they are continuing. But at school level, they do get involved with athletics, and they also play table tennis. But that's about it. But not a serious like cricket.
Like cricket.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is good. I mean, they're able to focus, and they've gotten their. They know where their interests are right away.
Correct. They play basketball again at a school level along with the friends, but nothing great deal as such. But the seriousness is only one, and the focus, as you rightly said, is predominantly into cricket.
Fantastic. So on that sporty note, let us get back our conversation to where we had left it in the last episode. So a couple of other things that caught my attention, Ashwin. You are also, I see that wherever you get involved, there is some form of a counsel or a guide or an advisory level that you get involved in.
Yep.
So I believe you are also involved in some things around health and education.
That's right.
Is that something you'd like to dwell upon?
Yeah, sure. When I was in Western region, unfortunately, I had to go into a medical hospital for a couple of instances where I learned that the facilities over there was lacking at particular, especially on a patient level perspective. So that made me an opportunity to provide a feedback initially to the at a very senior most level within the director level of a hospital. But at that particular point of time, when they dwelled onto my feedback, they actually contacted me and said, why don't you come as one of the advisors on the committee? So I was thinking that it is a full-time job, but later on I learned that it is kind of a community service, so which is what I have very close to my heart. We want to try and give back to community, both on my side as well as on Shubhangi's side. Both our parents are so much heavily involved in giving back to the community. Her dad and my dad, and I think knowingly or unknowingly that got inculcated in me. And when they said that, I tried to understand what exactly the ask was. So I've asked her to share more information. So then when that opportunity came in, so I thought maybe, rather than just providing one letter, at instances where I had the personal experience, rather I get involved. So then the opportunity came through knocking on my door for a community advisor for Western Health. So there are 4 hospitals that come under Western Health, which is Melton, Bacchus Marsh, Sunshine and Footscray. So Sunshine being the major parent hub. No, Veribi is in a different area. So these are the 4 hospitals that come under that belt. So Western Health. So I have become the community advisor there, and I think I have been doing that for the past 6 years.
You're still on the board?
Yes, I'm still on the board. So we have monthly meetings there, and I go to those meetings, and I talk with the likes of CEOs, director of nursing, director of surgeons, and very well educated and very highly proficient medical professionals come there and share their challenges. And as a community advisor, I go and share the challenges that the community is facing. Doesn't have to be, I don't deal on specific to Indian community. I deal any patient who comes, gets into the hospital and gets out of the hospital. They have direct access to me. They can call and share their experiences. If they have any tough time dealing with a particular doctor or nurse or whatever, they overall experience. So they share that with me, and I put that onto the table, and they make sure that they're not taken lightly. These advices are not taken lightly. They need to go and implement those advices, and they need to come back if they can't implement with a reasoning as to why cannot they do it.
How many such advisors are there, just like you?
Just me.
Wow.
I mean, sorry. When you say from our community, that it's me only. But as I've said, it is not related to a particular this one, but there are advisors sitting in every discussion at various levels. So there are about 6 advisors in total, if I'm not wrong, and these advisors come with various backgrounds. So there may be advisors coming and telling about a particular area in a cleaning services within hygiene, or an advisor coming and talking about the experience of a inpatient who has had a good or a bad experiences, or there is an advisor who is wanting to change the processes. So they're all, every niche thing, but they're all community advisors.
Okay.
So it doesn't stop me that I cannot go and talk about hygiene. I can still certainly talk about hygiene because that is what the patient would have experienced, or something else. So whoever comes to me, I just put that on the table, and they come back and tell me what changes they have made to ensure that that kind of experiences or negative experiences per se doesn't eventuate in the future. If it is positive, then obviously they get the due recognition.
But just out of curiosity, and we'll get to the school part as well, but if you're on a school advisory, one could understand that, you have kids there, or there are so many experiences that are there that you are able to understand. But when it comes to a health, God forbid, you don't have to keep going to a hospital every so often. So how do you ensure that you know what's happening and that is what you are able to represent? Because your experience might have been a once off or 2 times, but if you're still doing it over 6 years, how are you kind of informed or aware of what's happening on the ground?
That's a very good question, in fact, Sanjeev. And the amount of people who contact me, the first thing that any patient is given is a pamphlet or a brochure which has our details in there. And they don't have to, so our details are there in wherever you walk into these hospitals. There is a separate section. They can go either at the reception or in the actual ward that they are in. They can ask for a liaison, a public liaison officer or a advisor, or if they have any feedback. The norm is that the process that has been implemented in lately is that any patient gets in once he or she is been treated, and once they are comfortably settled in. When I say comfortably, they whatever the purpose of the hospital has been taken care of during the time of discharge, or while they are relaxing or they are trying to get out of their agony, a liaison officer goes there, either from the reception or there is a dedicated person also in few hospitals who go and talk to the patients before the discharge, or next to the kin of the patient, and they hand over this information which has our details there. That is how the patient will come to know who we are and what they can do and what they need to do in case they are having a bad experiences or a good experience. Some people, not necessarily that every time people contact me for a bad experience. They also say that, Ashwin, I would like to recognize this particular individual who has been taking care of me while I was under their care. So again, there are good news stories which I also share with the people, with the management, and that also gives a pat on their back, because it's not an easy job that they are doing. It is really a great service that they are selflessly doing it.
Absolutely, I can surely speak from experience. So understood that part. I have a question that is building up, but I want you to talk about the education part first, and then I'll come to that question.
Sure. We have education institutions back home. My dad and my uncle are founders of education institutions called Acharya ITI and Polytechnic, which are still running in Bangalore, founded in year 1989. And they are still running. We run ITIs, all the management colleges, engineering colleges as well, under our banner. And we have locations in Bomsandra, Peenya, Banswadi, Banarghatta Road as one of the first that we started off. My brother Ajit is looking after those institutes. And we are heavily, as I've said, my dad is very firm on, building. The only thing that he was focusing on is to get better education for kids. So it's similar to any other Indian parent, but they were very stressful. They were very particular about, giving back to the community in the form of education. So he used to teach students who can afford, who cannot afford also, used to come to our house for tuitions. My sister used to teach. My first guru was my sister, older sister. So she taught me, maths and science. And I, after coming here, once my kids started going to school, I noticed that there were few kids, especially on the Melton side. Here also it happens very occasionally here, but on the Melton side where the demography was not as wealthy as you would find on this part of the Melbourne. I somehow found out from the principal that they were trying to fundraise for a particular group of kids who cannot even afford to have one meal a day.
You're talking the school here?
No, in Melbourne. Okay. In Melbourne, in western suburbs.
In the western suburbs, okay.
Yeah, not in Glen Waverley area, but in the western suburbs. And that actually hit me and Shubhangi a lot. And that day we actually instantly we decided that we are going to form a trust under our parent, under our late dad's names, both Bindu Madhavacharya and Mohan Kulkarni. We have a trust under our name, and then we donate a particular amount every year to the school that my kids go to, or the needy. Mainly to the school, because that's where everything starts, right? The kid, if they are either fed properly or if they are getting the reason, uniformity basically. Every kid needs to be treated equally.
Correct.
And two, they need to get the education is the minimum thing that they need to get. And while doing that, they also need to be fed properly. So when principal told me that they are struggling, first thing that we did was for a couple of families who are struggling, we said we want to take care of their minimum basic needs, like their tuition fees. Back then we used to pay the tuition fees. So, and then when they are at school, their meals are taken care of, like breakfast and lunch. So because that school was also serving breakfast when they come early, and a snack as well. So we used to take care of 5 kids over there.
And when you say we, was it just you and Shubhangi as part of your trust, or they were just?
No, not just. So I don't want to be saying something I'm doing great. I'm sure people are doing so much. If you can give back to the community, even by whatever means you can, please try and give it back, because that is the least we can do. There's nothing that you can go. I cannot take a single penny with me when I pass away. So if you can give back, the blessings that I get from them is enormous. I never advertise that we have been doing this. I told school, they came back and said that they want to recognize us. I said no, and because you brought up the topic, I'm just how I got into it.
Absolutely.
And that is where the people have been forcing me to get into that and stay in the committee, because every time I go and share my experiences, or when I'm part of the committee, I bring change in the processes that they are implementing. And after moving to this area, again, one day, I don't know how they came to know about what I did in the past. They called me, and now I'm the president of Highville Secondary College. So we are implementing few changes. It is working well on this side as well. So which is a great stuff, and I feel proud that we are contributing back to the school where our kids go.
And kudos to you in terms of, again, this noble cause, what you're doing. Just one thing that struck me when you were saying that you can't take a penny back when one dies, but what you can certainly take back is a lot of the punya, right? Punya is nothing but the punya, as we say in Hindi, which is nothing but the credit that you get for the good deeds or the good work that you do. The CoolKarnis, if I could just plug that in. Right? So kudos. And I have to ask you this. We are sitting in front of Krishna, Lord Krishna, and we'll come to that again. But do you have some special deal with Lord Krishna where you have 48 hours in a day, or you have like 5 clones of you? Like, what is going on?
I wish I had that, and I could do more. But I think lately I'm I must admit that I used to sleep very less. I'm not a good.
Define less. Like the way you're talking about, you should probably have sleep debits. Maybe like.
Well, I used to there was a time for a continuously period of about 4 to 5 years. I don't want to say this with a great deal of proudness, because that actually hit me a lot, and I learned again hard that way. I used to sleep only about 4 hours a day, and I think that I shouldn't have done it. But now I'm at least sleeping good 6 hours, which is what I think I should be doing. I should have been doing
earlier.
Yeah. But with all these things, And I did not get, because when you do something that you like, or when you are passionate of doing something, if you have less amount of sleep also, that's okay, like, because you wake up fresh, because thinking that you got something else coming up in the next day.
Correct.
And I look forward to those.
Correct.
And as I've said, I can't stress enough, obviously this wouldn't have been possible without the support from my family.
Yeah.
Not just Shubhangi, but the boys as well. I could not spend much time with them when they were growing up, but luckily, at least now, cricket, with the medium of cricket, I'm able to spend
bonding with them.
Yes, certainly.
Absolutely. So this actually is a very, very good segue to the next point, Ashwin, because as much as you're giving credit to the family, this cannot happen without the blessings of a divine force.
Certainly not, yeah.
Now, the divine force can either be the supreme in forms of Lord Krishna, or the divine force through some of his chosen messengers like Swamiji.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where we met as well, right?
Yes,
I mean, I don't know if we met in some other form before, or it was at the Matha itself.
On the Matha event itself.
Matha event itself, but that is where we met, which was probably about 11 and a half or so, I don't know, probably even 12 years ago. Tell me about that, because that's a very different side of you, where we get to see a very different Ashwin in a way.
Yeah. My dharmic, I was always, again, the roots, where I come from, where my great-grandfather was a priest at one of our temples back in our village. It is closer to Gulbarga, called Kachapur. It is, very, very, at least now we have buses and everything going there. But, it is very setback village, unfortunately. But now things are really improving a lot. So, great-grandfather, he was running a priest.
From father's side.
From father's side. And when I got my thread ceremony done, Munjivi, what we call that as, I was not getting, my dad was very flexible at times, So, my mom was saying that at least, please make sure that our son, at least he gets the basic knowledge of what puja, punskar and everything is. So then my dad, after my Munjivi, which happened in year 89 again, so he ensured that, I go to the Rayar Matha, where, it was very close to our house. When I say close, it was still about 6 kilometers to 7 kilometers.
Sorry to interrupt. Rayar Matha in this instance is the Guru Raghavendra Swamiji.
Yes, Sri Raghavendra Swamiji, which I was very fond of, and then I went there, and there was one priest called Vamanachar. So he actually was the head of that Matha there, or the temple, for those who are viewing. So there, he taught me the Sandhya Vandana and basic puja part. And then I came, I used to go there every day along with my brother Arun. So we both used to go there and learn the Sandhya Vandana. And Arun, my cousin, he's a very ardent devotee.
This is still in Hyderabad.
In Hyderabad,
right?
So my aunt, who is I call her Amma, and my mom I call Mummy. So because she is no different to my mom, So both my mom and my Amma, they are very, religiously. They used to do all the rituals and passed on by my grandmother and stuff like that. So by looking at it, we never followed because there were elders who were doing the rituals at home, my uncle, my aunt, and they were doing more rituals than what I would. I was just looking at that and then, just grasped whatever, I could. But after coming here, I was literally missing that. For the first 3 years after I came here until 2006, before I got married to Shubhangi, I never visited or never did any puja at home. The most I had was a photo of Rayaru and a Ganapati, and that's about it. And there was only one temple back over here in Melbourne, which I knew is Shiva Vishnu temple, but I used to go to. Yeah, and going there was a big deal because one, I did not have a car then, and I had to either rely on public transport, and public transport on a Sunday, the buses don't run. They never used to run back then. This is when in 2003.
Correct.
So there was a guy again, this Sunil, Tokra that I mentioned before. He one day got a car, from his work, and we were happily saying that, okay, we have a car, let's go somewhere. First thing came to my mind was to go to the temple because it has been almost more than few months that I never been to a temple, and it is unlike me. Back home we used to pretty much go. Thursday was guaranteed. I was there in the temple after school or college.
Correct.
And then
Shiva Vishnu temple.
No. Back home. I'm saying.
Sorry.
So after coming here, I never went to a temple. So then once we had that luxury of getting a car, from his home,
then you drove.
I said we are going to the temple. So I somehow convinced him. He was also said, okay, let's go because we get some good food there. So that is the first time in a few months that I had gone to a temple. And when you don't see what happens as a human, it's a human nature again. When you don't get something for extended period, and all of a sudden you get something you get what you want.
Correct.
Either the devotion or the anxiety or the happiness go tenfolds.
Correct.
So that is how I got more in. Then I said, okay, I need to make some additional effort to go there. Then I started to look into purchasing a car. So when Shubhangi joined me in 2006, I never had any. Everyone knew that I was a Teluguite because of the Telugu people that I used to go around with and stuff like that. And then once Shubhangi came, she never knew Telugu. So then they said, how did you marry a person who don't know Telugu because you are Telugu? No, I said, I'm a Kannadiga. But because I was born and brought up at Hyderabad, I know both the languages, but my mother tongue is Kannada. Then she started to engage with a few known people here, and that's how we built up the Kannada group. It was an accident, that we met up someone somewhere, and so happened. And there was one priest over here, who got us introduced to the Kannada group. Then I started slowly, getting acquainted. And in 2006 August, when Raya Aradhana came in, that is when we all collective, like-minded people got gathered, and we did the first Raya Aradhana that I knew of in 2006. And since then we started slowly growing, and in 2010 we thought we have to not just put it to the likes of an individual household, we need to take it outside our group. And that is when we came to know about our Swamiji, Sri Subhananda Tirtha Swamiji from Udupi, whom we know that he goes outside the country, and until such time I never knew about Swamiji or what they do and how we can get the Matha established here and so forth. But through again one of our committee members, they told that there is one particular Matha, after the Ashtamatas, one particular Matha who are happy to come and establish a place of worship here, a religious place, and they can provide all the resources for us.
Correct.
I said, pooch neki.
Absolutely.
So I said, yeah, please explore the option. Then first hurdle that we got hit was the visa.
Correct.
Then I said, I have some background. I can tap into my resources. I can get the visas done. Then next comes the place. Where do we put it? Certainly it cannot be one of our houses because it needs all the religious stuff needs to be done in a certain way. Then we explored a particular house of one of the devotees who actually purchased an investment property. We actually requested him to give it on rent for us. So he was okay because it was then a religious place, nothing to lose. He was also part of, he was also a Sri Raghavan Swami Bhakta. He did not have any resistance there.
Absolutely.
So we took over, and then we invited Swamiji to come and visit Melbourne. So then he readily accepted that, and then he came, he saw the place, he recommended few changes which we did, and he said, okay, fine, I'm happy with the way you guys are going. I'm happy to provide dedicated priest to Melbourne branch. That's how Melbourne Sri Krishna Bundavana, Raghavendra Swami, Venkata Krishna Bundavana came into existence.
So here I would just want to call out a few things to our listeners. Is that Ashwin and I both belong to a group within the Karnataka, mostly in Karnataka, but you'll find us everywhere now, called as a Madhva, or followers of Madhvacharya. And Guru Raghavendra Swamiji is also a very important saint who came in that lineage. He's probably far more prominent or heard of in the circles because he's seen as an extremely benevolent guru. So that kind of really becomes a way where any part of the world that you go, you will find Raghavendra Swami or Raya devotees, which kind of connect and bring all of us together. And this journey that Ashwin is narrating is also probably will resonate with most of us, again, I would want to call out the immigrant population here, regardless of what religion you come from, because religion or culture is so regional, I believe.
Correct.
You know, like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you're broadly a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew, but you know, there will be regional elements which become very important, and you want
Certainly.
to have that going for you.
Correct.
So that was the bond that brought all of us together, that we wanted our own Krishna temple or a Raghavendra Swami temple to happen, through which we can then start, bonding together.
Certainly.
And these journey steps are similar for everyone, because it's not like, somebody is going to invite you and say, hey, go start.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad
With that background,
yeah.
please continue.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought the point of bonding, and also where you regionally come from, because every region within India itself has its own challenges.
Correct.
The Shiva Vishnu temple that I was talking all this while, there the priest come from Tamil background.
Correct.
Again, no offense to anyone here particularly, but the rituals that Madhvacharya or when my dad passed away, right, I used to go to Shiva Vishnu temple on the every Masa that we do,
right.
and yearly twice with Pakshamasa, and also in the actual Shraddha that I had to perform.
Correct.
I used to go and perform there, but their rituals were slightly different to what I used to follow. I'm not saying that is right or this is right, but the comfortness that you get is when you try to replicate what you have been doing for the last few years.
Correct.
So what was happening was, back then, Pinda Pradhana is something that I am trying to refer to here, was not happening the way I envisaged. So their rituals was different, and they are 1 month behind us in terms of the masas and everything, is what I have been told. I'm not expert in that, but one of the reasons that also, as I would say, selfishness from me to get Sri Krishna Vrindavana here through Swamiji, is that these rituals are currently being followed the way I have been exposed or I have been brought up with.
Correct.
So again, and the language barrier was also there, because they were all Tamilians. They used to talk Tamil, and the communication was very difficult, because I don't know.
We don't understand.
We don't. So, and certain rituals that are followed are slightly different, even though I try to explain them. Then at that time, internet was there, but it was not mature. It's for us to go and show everything, to the priests.
And the kind of I can't have a Zoom call and then get it done through India. Those things didn't exist.
They exist, correct. So this actually, when the idea came that we can tap into Sri Puttiga Matha, where they'll come and establish this for us, I was more delighted. I was very happy, because one, I was very happy that Matha is coming. I was also kind of a bit of selfish that yes, Matha will come. I can perform all the rituals the way that I want,
to your satisfaction,
to my heart's content, right? And I went to do certain rituals that my dad, after passing away of any elders in the family, I'm sure everyone who has that experience with doing these kind of rituals will agree that if you do certain things in a certain way, that gives moksha or peace or soul rest, the shanti, basically.
Absolutely.
So whether that happens or not is something that I will leave it to the experts to determine. But for me as an individual, if I do those things, it gets peace in me, and I want to continue to do it as long as I can.
Absolutely. And the only other way I would say is that, of course, look, the gap of a parent passing away can never be fulfilled. And in some shape or form, we always remember the parent who is departed. But this becomes one special day, or rather there are 2 days. We'll ignore the second day for now. But this becomes a special way in which you, at least on that day, you kind of remember your parents. You remember all the good times you spent with them, and think of it as a way to say thank you. There are ritualistic ways in which you do it, which, do it the way you're used to. No recommendation of A over B. But at least it becomes a way in which you thank your parents, for...
See, the whole reason of your existence is them.
Correct.
Right? So, and that is what we are trying to inculcate in our kids, is that the least you can do to a parent is to just go to them every day.
Absolutely.
That never happens, of course, but they cannot be you, and you cannot be them, right? So at least, if you follow at home, at some stage that will kick into their head, and they will try and follow at least what. See, I'm not following 100% of what my parents were following or are following, and I'm not expecting that my kids would also do that. At least if they can go and inculcate as a good human being at the end of the day.
But there's some tenets which is what will pass.
Will pass on. Yeah, that's right.
And interesting the way you mentioned, because my journey is not very different in that sense. So I lost my father in 2009. But I was just luckier than you in a way, because I was in US at that time, and Matha was Swamiji is the first, fantastic. Or rather the second Matha. Because the first one was in Phoenix, the second one was in New Jersey. So that Matha was already there.
Wow. Okay.
So we were by default exposed to it in a way. I have my own journeys of finding a place of worship, etc. I'll not bore the viewers with that. But this experience for me was already there.
Certainly.
So when I was moving to Australia, the first thing that struck me was exactly like what you said. What is going to happen when I go there?
Correct.
And the mark of confirmation in a way came from Prasannacharya, when he said that, hey, look, talk to XYZ when you go there, talk to Rajendra ji. He had given me Rajendra ji's number, and he said that, look, we plan to start something there.
Fantastic.
So that became the final way to decide, yes, I want to go to Australia.
Right? Actually, glad you also mentioned that, because we know that, a guy called Sanjeev is coming. And until that day of Raghavan Swami Aradhana, that's when, in August, again in 2012, I think.
No, 2012 I wasn't there. We met in Madhvanami in 2013.
13, is it? Okay. So, Madhvanami, I still recollect that Madhvanami or Raghavan, I'm pretty sure it was Raya Aradhana, but maybe you are right, because when you came. But so that is when back of my mind, again, Sri Prasannacharya told me that,
someone is coming,
who has already seen how we operate back in US. So that is when, I said, yes, we need someone who is more with like-minded as us, and who can also guide us, because we were still taking baby steps back then, right?
Correct.
And you coming was really a bonus for us, and also, feather in the cap, put it that way. Your existence, the way you have shown us the path as to how Putiya Mata can do things here, was because you have seen the journey back in US, and you coming and exposing that information to us in front of the audience, that was also reassuring for us.
Right? Absolutely. And I think I can speak on behalf of not just us here in Australia, not just people who are in US, but probably a good at least some 8-9 countries across the world, because now, the way our work is, either for studies or for work, in the IT industry, we all get into different parts of the world in a way, right? And the thing that we miss the most, this may be difficult for our viewers in India to believe, but when you go away from India is when you miss India and the culture the most.
Very true.
When you are in India, you may be like, this is kya yaar, itna karate, this is too much, this is a cultural overdose. But when you get out of India, you miss all of that.
And you try to do even more.
You try to do it that way. And that's when you miss these elements. Exactly. That's a better way to put it. And what Swamiji, thanks so much to him all the time, and namaskarams to him, that he has facilitated this for all of us.
Very true.
In at least, maybe, I don't know what the current count is, but I'm sure it's more than 18 branches outside the country of Sri Krishna Vrindavana, through which we are now able to continue that cultural heritage and pass it on to our kids.
Without a doubt. See, as I've said, if we don't go and if you don't do what you want your kids to do, then the first step is you need to practice that.
Correct.
So I do Sandhya Vandana daily, and kids at times they have their busy schedule, they may miss out, but we make sure that at least they do, once a day.
Yes.
And that is so far it is working, And I was very fortunate, one of those very fortunate guys that, Swamiji on his, under his guidance, we did our both kids Upanayana or thread ceremony back in Udupi this April. And, it was seamless for us. That is an amazing journey that I had personally. And I would also encourage everyone to go to Udupi at least once in their lifetime if they can. And Swamiji is sitting in the Paryaya period now. So I think you should all visit if you haven't visited Udupi.
And for all our viewers, I would also want to call out that Udupi is not just a brand of restaurants or Udupi dosa. Udupi is actually a place in southern Karnataka near Mangalore. And what it's famous for is a massive Krishna temple.
Yeah.
And there is a very fascinating story of that. We'll not go into that right now. but there is a very beautiful Krishna temple there, which is where Swamiji and 7 other Mathadishas come from.
Yeah.
So fascinating, this is good way reliving how we got connected and our respective journeys to that point. But one thing we started seeing, Ashwin, in the interactions that we would have then again was how you would come in and be resourceful on more than one counts, right? I'll very quickly touch upon one point, is that you will see Ashwin in practically everything going on around, right? Whether it is the setting up the audio system with a mic or a person with a camera behind, or if something is broken somewhere, he'll act as a handyman. So he's literally, you'll see him omnipresent in that sense. But a lot of the things happening behind the scene is where we would see the most. One angle was clearly the visa part, which you said, and we learned about that in the first episode. But that is when we started seeing that as the Matha started growing, as its I don't know if it's the right way to say, but the needs started increasing in a way, right? Is when we felt that there is an additional need that has to come in from the government perspective or the local councils or what have you, right? And we saw you step in a big way there.
Yep.
And that gave us a different exposure of you, so to say, the political side, if you may, right? Do you want to delve into that?
Yes, certainly. See, for me, right, or for that matter, anyone, or any organization to flourish, we need external support. Okay, unless you have deep pockets, which hardly, for example, Sanjeev is there, Ashwin is there, or someone else is there. They come to Matha on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever they're comfortable with. They can do a small amount of donation to their own capacity, right? So for a Matha of this kind to exist and continue their journey and try and give the services to the local community for people like me and you, there have to be, it doesn't come without money, right?
Correct.
It has to have, if it has to exist, obviously it has to need a place of worship, and for the place of worship to run the business, it's no different to a business, right? For it to run, obviously we need to have a couple of priests there, and if they have the priest, then we have to have deities, which obviously the deities need such rituals to be done. I can donate one day, you can donate one day, the other person can donate one day or a month or so forth, but it is never it is an ongoing basis. What I'm
correct.
So then, because when I used to run the club of Melton Knight Cricket Club, I knew that we can go into the local council area to tap into some funds, because every council or every area or every government organizations which are in power, they have certain funds dedicated to multicultural organizations or religious organizations. So I had that experience dealing with my club. So I thought maybe I should gain that experience to tap into the local council where the Matha is going to be established. I went to that local council, I approached the councillors and I told them what we are trying to do. And I also told them that there are so many people of Indian community exist in your local area for which you have not done anything. Then they also saw the demography of what the ratio was. They were also surprised that yes, we are not doing anything for this community. Let us do something. Then,
but just curious, sorry to interrupt you. Your exposure was in Melton,
yes,
which is on the western side.
Correct.
But obviously the Matha and the activities were happening here in Southeast.
Correct.
Did you start from there to tap here, or you directly tapped here? Okay.
Yeah, because we have the council outside that particular zone will not fund you.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So then we approached the council. Council said that we can only do so much, but again that not be. They started contributing to us
small way,
but giving us a higher hall and everything. But again, that is once a year, right? Again, it doesn't go long.
Correct.
Then I also, we had a friend who was a commissioner in multicultural affairs, commissioner in Victorian government. Then that's when it struck our mind through Raj Saini, and then we tapped into him. Then that is when the Pandora box opened for us. Then we started to realize how much funding we can get from various sources, whether be it as a security funding for the Matha, whether be it's a multicultural affairs, whether it is to upgrade the facilities within the Matha,
correct,
like the infrastructure or the hall and everything. That's when we realized that there is more to it. And we started applying for every funding, that has been announced.
Is available.
Our application is in.
Correct.
And that also, just putting the application would not suffice. So what I started to do was, I started tapping into the local ministers then. That is when my political journey started. So here approaching a politician was very easy, when unlike India where they are not easily approachable. But here I was able to approach, send a few emails by they are readily available online. You just need to search for the local area who is representing your local area. Just tap into them, and we were very fortunate that way that every minister has on both sides of the party has opened their doors for us.
Correct.
So we went into that, and that's when I started interacting with those individuals very frequently, and then I got really a large support from a few of the ministers by they providing the acknowledgement, and then second they also advised or gave a recommendation letter why this Mata has to get because of recent incidents that happened on the Mata side. And also the application was so strong that the government also felt that they need to step in to help the local community.
Correct.
And that is when my interest also grew to get into political side, where I need to also make sure that I not only keep in touch with them, but also we also support them, because they are supporting our community.
It's a two-way street.
It is, yeah, obviously, right? So, and that is when my interaction with the ministers grew a lot, and that's how my name is very well known amongst few local areas because of the services that we do. Maybe if it is not me, maybe it is Sanjeev. Tomorrow if Sanjeev comes into the limelight, I'm not expecting any limelight here, but it is someone has to communicate this from the on Mata premises. So I am that for our temple, and Ramesh ji is also there, who is also very active, and he has taken over most of those sites under the guidance of Sri Prachanachar, obviously for us. And hence my existence or my relation to the political party came in there.
Absolutely. And since you mentioned Prasannachara, I think we really have to acknowledge this here, that I'm in awe of how much you are able to do and manage at the same time. What do we say about him?
Oh, yeah, exactly. We are a drop in the ocean. He's the ocean for us. So we're just a drop there. So,
with 32 plus different branches happening at the same time, having knowledge of everything happening everywhere.
I know.
And yet remembering probably smaller details about everything going on. I genuinely feel, and maybe this is a topic for another conversation, but I genuinely feel that there is something differently in terms of how people are wired.
Very
Either
true,
you're born that way or you develop, I don't know.
Very true. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all, his, he gets things done.
Correct.
And we are the means or the resources that he has chosen to get certain things done.
Correct.
And I would also like to call out a couple of ministers here, like, there is Minister John Mulahi. Here in Glenville area, who has done so much to the Mata, has contributed. There is Enver is there on the suburb where Mata is surrounding area, and we also would like to thank the Multicultural Affairs Minister, who has acknowledged the Mata's existence, and she has really come out and then gave large funding to us. And without them, obviously, we have John's previous boss, and currently also Steve in Murambina area. So all of these people have selflessly and without any we pushing them hard, right? They have come to our Mata. They have physically came to our Mata, which was very tiny place. They feel when they see the amount of devotees who come to the Mata, and they feel that, okay, Ashwin, this is not sufficient for you guys. We need to do something about it. They proactively suggest us what kind of other grants that we can apply.
Absolutely. The one visual that is coming to my head, Ashwin, they say that sometimes when God decides to give you, He will give you through multiple hands.
Correct.
Like this is nothing but those multiple hands. Right? There are so many avenues through which the government is willing to help with, promote culture or help promote the culture is probably the best way to say that. The cultural organizations. It's sometimes a lack of our awareness. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know exactly.
And these avenues open up in terms of how we can do all that.
Correct.
Okay, so there's still a lot to ask, but let's lighten this up a little bit.
Sure.
Right? So we'll come back to this topic again because I want to understand the politics side of it.
Okay.
So we'll do what is called as a little bit of rapid fire.
Oh right, okay.
No thinking.
Yes.
जो आया बोल देना.
बोलने का, ठीक है. मन में आया जो बोलना है. ठीक है.
मन में आया बोल देना.
ठीक है.
Okay. तो हैदराबाद और मेलबर्न.
हैदराबाद.
Okay. Hyderabad or the hometown, like Bangalore or the one that you talked
Hyderabad.
about. अरे यार ये तो क्या है नहीं है क्या मिला
पक्का हैदराबादी हूँ भाई मैं
ऐसा बैंगन का जैसा बात नहीं कर सकता
बैंगन के ही करना है भाई
Okay, now let us see what you say. Telugu or Kannada?
no
thinking.
Telugu.
ये क्या हो क्या रहा है? All right. Hopefully this answer is more or less predictable. Dhoni or Sharma? Sharma, Kohli, whatever.
Dhoni.
Okay. Banker or a telco professional right now? Banker. Okay. That kind of helped you build the base in a way. That's the start of the journey for all this. Understandable.
Because I got exposed even further to all the Australian market and Australian companies through the means of banking.
Banking,
and the current role I was doing when I joined. Current role I'm doing when I with my current organization is because of the basics that I've learned from them. So certainly banking.
Okay, fantastic. The way you explained how much you sleep, this question was irrelevant, but thankfully you are now getting 6 hours of sleep. So morning person or evening person?
Morning person.
Okay. Beach or hills?
Hills.
Okay. Why?
Because I love walking, I love trekking. I don't know swimming, so all I can do is go into a knee height or maybe waist height into the water,
and then come back.
That's it. I fear, but I'm always a outdoor person where I like to go up the hill, or I've been doing trekking as well. I went away with one of my colleagues for 5 days into
I remember that.
Not Mount Buller. It is
beyond Canberra.
Yeah. So it was a fantastic experience. Obviously that.
Hills. Okay. East or west from a Melbourne suburbs perspective? सोच के बोलो
सोच के
नहीं बोलना फटाक से बोलना है वेस्ट ही बोलना है
ठीक है गुश करता हूँ वेस्ट
अच्छा ईस्ट और वेस्ट फ्रॉम कल्चर पर्सपेक्टिव ईस्ट ओके टॉलीवुड और बॉलीवुड और सैंडलवुड कॉलीवुड जो भी बोलना बट बेसिकली टॉलीवुड और एनीथिंग एल्स
no Bollywood
okay politics or business
that's a tough one I never wanted to be a politician so maybe a business
okay dosa or biryani hyderabadi
biryani
क्या यार तो बहुत पिटने वाला काम बात कर रहे हो यार तुम क्या यानी हैदराबादी थ्रू एंड थ्रू
भाई वो अभी वहां पे बैठ गया वहां पे से आए भाई तो हाउ कैन आई फॉरगेट दैट
बट एक बात बताओ फर्स्टली दैट वाज द लास्ट क्वेश्चन तो एक बात बताओ ऑन अ फनी बेसिस हम लोग बहुत सारा हैदराबादी टाइप बात करने की कोशिश करते हैं लेकिन थोड़ा बहुत कुछ सिखाओ यार आई मीन हैदराबादी कुछ क्या कैसे बात करना
so I think वो हो जाता है यार it comes natural when you have a Hyderabadi person sitting opposite to you it comes natural you don't need to put any struggle in there any person who is born and brought up at least or even has moved there and stayed there for a good few years when I say few years doesn't have to be more than 3 or 4 years he would actually he would just normally casually he would pick it up
and कुछ बताओ ना सिखाओ ना थोड़ा
क्या चाहिए भाई
ऐसे कुछ तो कॉन्वर्सेशन स्ट्राइक कैसा करना क्या करना जी कुछ तो
I would say every language if you have to actually get started you need to learn couple of swear words about that
slangs slangs आना चाहिए
again in back in our Hubli there is this I would say an adjective if I wants to call again don't want to pretend as if I know more English but is a minimum
correct
यहाँ पे हैदराबाद में आप अगर आओगे तो माँ की किरकिरी that is the
उतना तो आना ही है so कैसे context में यूज करेंगे यानी किधर भी घुसा
क्या बात है यार इसकी माँ की किरकिरी so it's not a swear word but so because when you go there right क्या even if you want to appreciate something क्या खाना था क्या बिरयानी था माँ की किरकिरी क्या खाना था यार
अच्छा तो that is just like as you rightly said adjective तो कहीं भी ऐसे
घुसा देगा
तड़के की तरह घुसा दो अच्छा तो ये हो गया और कुछ any other slang words slang I mean मैं गाली की तरह
बैंगन is the क्या बैंगन की बात करते हैं यार तुम लोग
तो बैंगन is what is it good or is it bad
it's a again it can be interpreted anyway like I mean or someone can be just fluttering the words, right? क्या फेंको है यार तो खाली बैंगन के बातें करते रहता तुम्हें खाली फेंकते रहता है so वैसा like so it can be irrelevant totally because बैंगन is first of all a pear shaped it's not a proper like unlike you get properly
proper shaped India में तो नहीं मिलता
exactly
correct
so it is kind of उल्टा सीधा करने के लिए बैंगन बोल देना
बैंगन
so like you are not talking straight हादी उनको माता I mean ट्रिप पे नहीं जा रहे तुम लोग
कैसा भी
ट्रिप पे नहीं जा रहे तुम लोग
आड़ा तेरा
हाँ वैसा
अच्छा और किसी का तारीफ करना है तो यानी कोई मस्त है लड़की मस्त दिख रही है टाइप से ऐसा कुछ बोलना हो
तो क्या पटाखा है यार माँ की किरकी
अच्छा चलो यानी ये सब some of these words are same everywhere
see as I've said कुछ भी कहीं पे घुसा तो हो जाएगा
हो जाएगा
so that I think every Hyderabadi it comes as a natural to them you don't need to be getting that and I would say I would if I have a good friend here Prashant karke these guys don't even understand me because
half the time what we are saying
because she talks pure Hindi like when I say pure Hindi much polished Hindi right
correct
when I and Prashant talk she does not even understand what we are talking but we actually have fun in that
so I think I can completely relate too because as you know I am from Mumbai same background as you because I am from Karnataka originally my parents are from there but I am born and raised in Mumbai same story राइट आई मीन ऐसा नहीं है कि हमें हिंदी बात करनी आती नहीं है ठीक से राइट कोशिश कर लेते हैं
मैं आपसे बात करूं तो मैं ठीक से ढंग से
बात कर लेता हूं because that's how it naturally works but the way it used to be for us when you would go to Rayarmatha only right when you would go to Rayarmatha you would obviously you'll have parents
correct
you're hanging around with your friends and then कभी-कभी वो बाहर भेज देते थे कुछ ये लेके आओ वो लेके आओ right seamlessly effortlessly we would be Kannada with our parents and their friends parents Hindi amongst us which is the Bombaya Hindi बाहर जाओ तो जो whatever works right मराठी में बात कर लिया हिंदी में बात कर लिया but seamlessly we would keep swapping and same thing अभी हम लोग बात करते हैं
unknowingly it happens
हाँ
it happens naturally
unknowingly it's just natural Anu will be like क्या ऐसा कौन हिंदी बात करता है बोला हम लोग हिंदी बात ही नहीं कर रहे
exactly हम लोग
बात कर रहे हैं बम्बईया बात कर रहे हैं हैदराबादी बात कर रहे हैं हम बात कर रहे हैं हिंदी नहीं है
exactly that's what Shubhangi says कौन सा लैंग्वेज बात कर रहे हो तुम
हमारा अलग है कोड लैंग्वेज है
so and it's all good my Rakhi sister is also here Kranti and Kranti and Shubhangi talk pure Hindi they talk Hindi and when she hears me talking इसको हिंदी आता ही नहीं बात कर रहा है
but that is in some ways I think that's part of our upbringing culture तो नहीं बोल सकते अभी शायद but it's probably part of our upbringing in a way where we grew up that's our roots
true I think everywhere if I was to say because India is so vast people coming from up north also they have their own way of local colloquial language the way they can address amongst each other
correct
but if I have to talk to them then I have talked polished Hindi and if you may have seen my recent in TV interviews that I have given for a brief time when I went to Ayodhya on the third day I was there in Ayodhya when they opened.
Oh wonderful.
I was very fortunate to get darshan of Sri Lord Ram and there a TV reporter came knowing that we came from Australia to visit so there my Hindi was so pure I mean I as if I don't know when you say pure right it is
not the Hyderabadi way
and these guys were surprised as to how can it speak so much so good Hindi
तो हमारे साथ क्यों बात नहीं करते
and that actually he says no you don't know Hindi still they say but that got vetted by none other than another Hindi Pandit for me he is a Hindi Pandit Pramod करके मेरा एक friend है वो बोलता है and he also tells to my other friend Prashant that Ashwin का हिंदी इतना अच्छा है कि
हिंदी में बात की है
so everyone was surprised to hear to that interview
correct
so I can switch based on who I'm talking to
and see that is the skill we all bring from when
because Bangalore Kannada is totally different to what Kannada we speak at home
exactly
so again I switch to that Kannada when I'm talking to a Bangalore friend or our Kannada when I'm talking to a Hubli or a Dharwad friend.
And I think that kind of helps in a way, right? Having it keeps your mind sharp in a way that you're able to swap from one to another.
True.
चलो अच्छा हंसी मजाक हो गया. We'll come back to some more points that we want to learn about you, Ashwin. So Ashwin, you talked about how I wouldn't say it's a political journey that started, but how you kind of started getting involved more in terms of more from the cultural perspective, but tapping onto the political side of it, and now you have those connections. Help me understand. I understand that you probably have never been involved in politics in India, so to say. Would that be a fair understanding?
Yes, of course.
Okay. But whatever you're seeing here, how do you see this any different from India? Would it be similar in India in terms of how cultural organizations there may be tapping, or how they may be thriving, or they thrive in different ways? They don't need a political patronage there in India?
Well, I'm not 100% associated, so it may be an unfair or a statement for me to make. But I think there it is governed by the political parties. So most of the temples like Tirupati and everything, they fall under the governance, even though they have their own committee and trust and everything. But there is always, as I understand, holistically, is that there is always a involvement in the core committee from a political ruling party who dictates more or less what needs to be done, not the ritual way, but also the administration way. Okay, and what happens to the money that gets into the temple and so forth. Whereas here, the political party never gets involved into any of these religious organizations. They help us to establish our religious beliefs, our organizations, and they will try and see what best they can get exposed to, and that way, as I've said, it is easy to tap into the political party here, unlike India. And maybe because I don't have exposure, maybe someone else may have better exposure than me, and maybe easy access. But here, it is all, transparent for me.
Correct. The connection is wonderful.
And also, to give back to them, the least I have done giving back to these individuals who have supported our organization is to do a fundraising for them when they are in need. So we go, and I have done so many fundraising for many politicians or MPs here at various levels.
What does that entail when you say fundraising?
So when the actual election time comes, they are in need of funds to propagate them, because they can only, they have, as I've said, they don't get heavily paid during this time of election times. They have to spend their own money, for which they come and they request for fundraisings, where they can either tap into monetary benefits, or they can get a sponsor from either a rich businessman or someone like politically affiliated party members, where they come and tap, just donate some of monetary benefits. Money where they can use for the benefits of their propaganda.
Correct.
During the election time. So these funds they will use to either advertise for themselves in the local area, because here if you see they don't go and put their banners on the roads and everywhere. Either they can put on a private property with the agreement from the owner of that particular property, or they just put drop-in pamphlets in the letterbox. That is the least they can do, or in the televisions.
Correct.
But television, it is done at a main party level. But individual politician, if they have to do, they need funds.
Social media.
So for not everyone is deep pocketed, unfortunately, and they request for active members like me, who we also tap into them when we need. So the reciprocation is that we go and I do the fundraising event for them.
Correct.
So the way I do it for them is to book a hall or a restaurant, and then sell the tickets for, and then the patrons who purchase the tickets will get to meet the politician in person, get to take a picture. For us, it's a big deal. There are some political fanatics like where they want to show that they have a picture with a politician or a to-be politician or a MP already. So they come there. It's a win-win situation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And 9 out of 10 times, the way I have involved with some of these politicians is that they give back to the community. And they have given back. It's not that I'm talking something which I have not done in the past. They have been doing it. And that is the reason I want to also show my appreciation for the work that they are giving to our organization like Sri Krishna Vrindavana. And this is the least we can do back to them, give back to them by raising funds.
Absolutely.
For their benefit.
Just curious, does politics interest you? Would we see you in that direction?
No, you will never see me there.
Okay.
Yeah. I may be working in the background, but never in the front end.
Why is that?
I mean, nothing has tapped onto me so far, and I was never serious about it till date. So, one instance is that has come in, but I never shown much interest, so they stayed away from it.
I'm hoping that something will change for you at some point, because I'm also obviously not into politics. I don't claim to understand that, but for whatever little I understand, what I see in you, I see all the traits in you.
See, I mean, there are so many people like me, right? I am just not alone. There are so many people who have done much better than what I have done, right? And it's an interest that every individual wants to be in.
Correct.
So, but if I go there, then it's only one avenue that I have to be concentrating on. But whereas the individual that I am today, I can tap into multiple avenues, and I love doing multiple things.
Right.
And once I'm into that route, I think I'll have to concentrate only on one particular aspect rather than multiple aspects.
Fair enough. That makes sense. So then that obviously leads me to the question that what's next for Ashwin?
I think whatever I'm doing is good enough. घर पे बीवी के साथ भी time बिताना है, बच्चों के साथ, तो I have to stay home. So
absolutely, absolutely. But the way you have narrated your journey, Ashwin, I'm almost 100% sure that there is some opportunity waiting round the corner, which you're going to grab with both hands again.
See, as I've said, if it is something that is very convincing, and if it is going to keep me and my family happy, maybe I will try and explore that. But you never know, what is in the pipeline ahead. But if something interesting comes up, then I would certainly explore it. And if it is better for the community and my family, I would certainly look into it.
Absolutely. So we are coming to the end of the podcast now, but there are just a few key questions that I want to ask before we conclude. So obviously, in these 2 episodes, you have shared your journey, you have shared how there have been numerous people who have been kind of guiding or shining lights in your journey. Anything particular, any advice or any words of wisdom that you received that strike that you want to share with our viewers?
See, obviously the first guru is your parents, and my dad in particular, and my mom, who has been holding the fort after dad passed away. But if I have to say, my life journey, actually I became more mature after moving into Bangalore under the guidance of my brother Ajit. I think he has shown me the path, because he has gone through several tough phases himself in his life, and he always has a smiling face on him. And no matter whatever he has gone through, I have not gone through 10% of what he has gone through. And I think he says, if anything happens to you, it happens for a reason. Try to embrace that, try to hug it, and try to make sure that you acknowledge that that whatever has happened for a reason, and try and see what best you could do to either happily accept it or happily deny it. And when you deny it, make sure that you're not hurting the people around it. Okay, and if problems are there, right? So problems comes in every angle. So how to deal with the problems is, the best way is to talk about it to others you are comfortable with. And any problem that I get today, the first thing is I call him, I share with him. When I share with him, half of my problem is gone. Okay, so what he has taught me is to talk about it. Don't keep it to yourself. No matter how big or a small problem it is, talk about the problem to others whom you are comfortable with. It doesn't have to be, your wife or your brother or your sister, or anyone, friend also can be a partner. Anyone that you are comfortable with, who can understand where you are coming from and what is going through with you. And your understanding may be totally wrong, but sharing what you feel with the person that you trust itself will get your problems down.
Lighten you a lot. Wow.
And he has also told me that hugging the problem, so he is the last known person that I know who has hugged my dad before my dad passed away. So every time I hug him, I feel that I'm hugging my dad. So that till date is what I would cherish, and he is my godfather, or rather I would say my kid's godfather, because both my sister-in-law Rashmi and Ajit Anna, they performed the thread ceremony for my younger son, which we feel that we are very fortunate to have both of them in our life.
What's the age gap between both of you?
Me and he is 70 born and 72, sorry, and I'm 76 born, so 4 years.
4 years apart.
And but he has taught me so much, and I have become whatever I'm today. Is I would think it is unfair if I don't give 100% credit to him.
Well.
But there are people around him as well and around me. Like as I mentioned earlier, both my sisters' families, and on Shubhangi's side, her family, as well as my extended family on my aunt's side, my Pradeep Jaji and Anuka and Anil Anna. There are so many people like Arun, Anita, my Dodama, Shamla Dodama. She is one person who has been holding all the family on both sides, together so hard, in spite of we losing my dad, my uncles, and everyone. She is the one who has taught us how to lead life, in spite of things falling apart around you. So I think, and my mom, who is the strongest lady at the age of 74, she is trying to do the best. So I say, she is more inspiring to me than what I would be to anyone else.
Absolutely, I can totally relate to with my own mother as well, who is now 75, and same, like strong ladies and strong women who have been instrumental in our journeys.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Ajit Anna, as well. What's the best part of being Ashwin Bindu?
Best part of being Ashwin Bindu is Ashwin Bindu. That's it.
That is it.
That's
you
it.
yourself.
That's it. Me, myself. You can see mini me in my younger one. Okay. Yeah, but yeah. So best part, I'll see. As I've said, I am trying to be very natural to what I am, these days. So I don't want to be impersonating me of someone else. Trying to be me and do what I'm best known to do. So
fantastic. You clearly gave us some indications of where we can see you in the next 5 years, which is, you said, doing what you are doing. But I have firm belief that there will be something new. But if you were to look back 25 years ago, is there anything you would tell Ashwin Bindu, the young Ashwin Bindu, to do differently?
Maybe it's a very tough question actually. If what I would do differently to what I'm doing now, maybe is to practice something, where I don't get agitated a lot. So I think maybe age is catching up. I don't know, but I think back then, maybe I could have given more to people around me than what I'm doing now. I could have started back in 25 years rather than started few years ago. So
that's definitely a very kind advice. But genuinely, Ashwin, what I feel is that one feels like starting to give back when you think that you have something. And essentially the message that you are trying to give is that feel content so that you start giving right away. It's not about how much you have monetarily or what have you. Fantastic. And then the very last question I would ask is any last message that you want to leave our viewers with?
So enjoy. This CoolKarnis is going to go distant, and I'm sure that we would like to encourage Sanjeev in what he's doing. And CoolKarnis is cool, and I think everyone who is either part of this journey and trying to do an interaction or podcast with you, or viewing to take some inspirations, please support CoolKarnis, and I wish you all the very best, Sanjeev, for ensuring that this is just a stepping stone, and I want to see you in a very large scale, interviewing a large, wealthy, very well known celebrities in the future, and this is just the beginning. And thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given me to share my journey so far or thus far. And I think you will get as many views and as many likes through my podcast.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. 2 points. Firstly, thanks for those gracious words and what you said with the blessings of the Guru and the Lord. Hopefully it happens, but I'm not saying this because of modesty or anything, but I genuinely believe that yes, we probably have a lot of those celebrity journeys, celebrity stories that we are aware of, but this whole thought of the podcast and the whole thought of this CoolKarnis came to me because I felt that there is a lot happening around us in terms of successful people, people who are demonstrating day in, day out these successful traits, habits, journeys. we all get inspired by things that are at a mega scale. We might be seeing some leader or some some dignitary or somebody who we follow at certain level and inspired by their success. By all means, please be that. But at some point, you may feel that that is so high up and unachievable. I would love to bring CoolKarnis to your attention, because these are all our friends. These are all people amongst us who have done this, who have defied the stereotype, who have forged new paths, who are going in new directions, all within you and me. So they have exactly the same kind of either challenges or opportunities that you and me have. And it is certain difference. Maybe it's in their mindset, it's in their approach, and it's in their abilities to take risks, if you may. That is probably making the difference. And the whole intent of CoolKarnis is to bring those journeys in front of us, right? So as much as I appreciate your best wishes that I get to do that, yes, I would love to do those as well. But I'm just enjoying these interactions that I have.
I'm glad that you're getting the the inner feelings of an individual around you, that whom you have been noticing that people have gone from somewhere to nowhere or to what they are today. And I think they themselves sharing those experiences, like people like me, itself shows that there are so many people out there who have gone through many challenges in their life to get to where they have got to.
Correct.
And that journey is not an easy one for anyone to go through. So some may have easy journey, some may have tough journey, but everyone has their own challenges to per se. But I think where you are today to what you are demonstrating only shows that your true self.
Absolutely. With that, I would like to say thank you. Thank you so much to you, Ashwin, for spending time with us.
Thank you so very much, Sanjeev. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you. And thank you so much to our viewers. This brings us to the end of another very exciting journey with the CoolKarnis, with our CoolKarni today, Ashwin Bindu.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And until the next episode, we'll be back soon with another exciting CoolKarni. Thank you.
Thank you.